So we didn't get to do our romance video this week because I had to put up with some stuff. I'll try to do it this upcoming week, but we could talk about some parts of it today. Um, it's been a really irritating week. Like on Wednesday we have this person pretend to be, well, they did it on Tuesday, but on Wednesday I responded to a person that pretended to be me as part of their efforts to be the real life version of Goku Black. And I was going to say on Friday, yesterday, I have a person that last year recorded a bunch of stuff for me. And at some point between 2 months ago or 3 months ago and yesterday, I found out that the Google Drive we'd been using um, had been, I guess, killed. As in, when you click the link to go to it, instead of showing all the different files like it used to, it just says, this URL, nothing comes up, or URL not found, or something to that effect. So I told the person about this, and their response was that they were out of town. I have to wait almost 2 weeks for them to come back, and then they'll look into it. And I was rolling my eyes because I'm like, I get where someone is on a vacation and they don't really want to be bothered with, different stuff, even though this is something you made. So I'd imagine you'd want to see what comes out of it. But for me, it's just kind of a thing of, if I'm telling you that a link doesn't work and you can just click the link, like you don't have to do any research, just click the link and then you see that nothing comes up. You get where it's like, why do you need to investigate? Like, what is there to investigate or look into? Like, just clicking a link and seeing that it doesn't work anymore. So those two things together really brought the week down for me. I hate it when you have a person that makes something, right? Because a lot of times with the VAs, the issue is they don't record anything, and then somebody records something, but then stupid Google or some other like seeming external factor makes it to where you can't use their stuff. Technology is just so aggravating. I remember I even had one person who, because I always remember the one stream I did where I was talking about someone throwing out some shampoo I had that was in a transparent bottle, and how I had someone in the comment section go, "I can't believe you would talk about this. I'm never watching you again." And I was like laughing to myself because that person had literally only ever commented on my stuff twice. So it was, they made themselves inconsequential because they barely watched anyway. Um, I just always remember that whenever I want to talk about something that like irritated me, that didn't necessarily make me very angry, but just kind of was annoying, and it like just happened or was very recent to me doing a stream. Just like the idea that you can't talk about the things that bother you on your own channel because of someone else's opinion. I just thought that was funny. I'm never gonna watch you again, even though I already barely watched you. That really is crazy that every time somebody leaves like a weird comment, it's always someone you've never seen before. Like that one guy, I'm not gonna say his name, the one that likes to argue every time he shows up on a stream. On the stream on what, like, he goes into this stream and it's called, let me pull it up just so I can be correct. Thief steals my videos and pretends to be me. And then he's gonna ask, were they doing a reaction video? I'm like, and I don't say this during the stream, but I'm just thinking to myself, if they were doing a reaction video, that would entail them being on the screen as well, which in that instance would not be identity theft because they would be presenting themselves as they actually are. It's like, why would I accuse somebody of stealing my video and pretending to be me if they're doing reaction? Just what I said. It's just, I'll tell you, the people on here, they don't even care. They just type something and hope it sticks. It's all they do. Yeah, it's just been a really big hassle to try and make stuff. like I kept on talking about doing a Dragon Ball show, right? And the ideas I had for it, and I do have some writer's block with it, mainly with concerning a villain. Um, but again, the biggest thing that makes me not want to do it is voice actors. I'm so sick of these people. It's not even funny. Like I really do see them, not all of them, but just them as a collective, as like a vampire. Like they're this. They're like a bomb slash vampire where they like drain your energy because when you get on something and you like write the script and you're willing to do all these different drawings to make the thing come out, and then they keep on saying I'll record eventually, I'll record, or they stop responding, so they're like sucking away your enthusiasm. um and they're also time bombs because when they sign up now, every time it's like I can't wait for this person to resign. Just waiting for that day so we can get the next person to jump on and resign, and then the next person just goes on and on. I actually sent one of them a an email talking about, and because I guess what's so frustrating to me is that because I interact with these people in text almost entirely, um, I'm able to take what they've said and show proof of it, and I'm not sympathetic toward a voice actor who says in March, I wasn't able to fully record this and I'm gonna have to re-record it, to in May then saying, oh no, I'm not doing anything, I can't do this, I don't have time. It's like, so you told me you were going to do something and then for 2 months did not only didn't do it, but then ignored every time I asked you about it. That's why I can't feel sympathetic toward these people because, you know, it's one thing to just quit abruptly, but it's another to like lead someone on to believe you would do something. I just think that's a really nasty thing to do to a person. And again, I've talked about how um, people do the just world fallacy, right? Where they try to say, "Oh, this happened to you because you did this," but I've never been on someone else's project, so I've never like sat here and said I was going to record something and then didn't do it, and then like ignored the person even after doing it. And I actually was going to talk about a news article, not a news article, an article that this some person, I don't know if it's a woman or a man, their name I've never really heard before, but there's a person who made an article about millennials and why their relationships are garbage. And they talked about how a lot of people within, I guess, this age range actually think it's normal to just ghost someone to get out of a commitment. That, people in the past would go and meet with the person or tell them, hey, I can't do this, like fess up to your responsibility. But because they're like so just accustomed to not taking anything seriously, even like how they treat other people, they will just abruptly, stop saying anything with the hope that, you just go whatever and move on, as a lot of people like to say. And like I said, I don't bother these people. I don't go to their stuff, but you know, I don't think you have to be a psychiatrist to figure that wanting to make something and having people that are supposed to like make your thing better by having all of this supposed talent keep delaying it or otherwise being a roadblock in making it gradually wears on you. Let me pull up that article. I really want to read part of it because I'm going to end up using it for the what's in that video, the one on the oh yeah, on the self improvement. I'm going to use it for that one. All right, this article is from bold.com and it is called "If You'll Ever Load." That should be the name of the article. Why dating as a millennial is so screwed up, by Drea Rose. Oh, okay, so it is a lady that wrote this. Um, Again, when I do my video, I'll take parts of it and attribute it back to her and like talk about what things I agree with because it makes a lot of good points, and it's kind of disturbing that you know so much of it is accurate to my experience. Like I had one person, oh, you base the whole dating scene off of your experiences, even though we have entire groups of men online that have had, the same issue with broads of like the, continuous unrequited interest, right? You just keep talking to these different chicks, they keep wasting your time. Um, but the article does a really good job of like talking about, and again, it's mostly like a bullet point style of, this is one reason, this is reason two, this is reason three. But I was very disturbed by how much of it is like, and I talked about how like the reason I don't like pills is because they basically are telling you that you can't have a viewpoint without subscribing to this term, right? To like this like thing that's on the internet. Because I know a lot of people in real life who say things such as, I won't get with anyone, this is a waste of time. And they don't sit on their computers in these groups, to where they would even like, that's why a lot of this computer stuff um has become so frustrating because I know loads of guys just from the time I've been in school that talked about like ridiculous stuff that chicks did. And like nobody called them the I word. Nobody said they were, part of some team they didn't sign up for. It's only on the computer that there's this like this weird stormtrooperification of like every opinion, Let me go back to the article. My favorite part of it, by the way, is where she says, or rather where she writes, we're overloaded with options. And where's the other one? I think I skipped past it. Oh, we expect a perfection that doesn't exist. Let me read that part. Social media and thousands of dating profiles shoved in our faces leads us to believe we're entitled to a fairy tale that that doesn't truly exist. We write people off for a minor detail and quickly look for the next best thing that we'll somehow also find flaws in. Nothing is ever good enough for millennials. We fail to realize that relationships are a balanced bond and that with the amazing things come imperfections as well. See, that part's important to me because one of the key positions I take is that when people tell you to self improve or to work on yourself for a woman, they're telling you that because this person has a vagina, not because they've done something specific to them, right? That's like so unique and amazing as to warrant doing all of this excessive hoop jumping through for. They are your superior. So like when people tell you, oh, go to the gym to improve your physique, they're assuming that every woman is like in shape or uh, actually taking care of herself in some physical way, even though we know that's not true. So, that's one of the reasons I like the part. Yeah, they forgot to mention the gender that bombarded with messages and signs of interest. No, in that article, they mentioned like again, it's written by a woman, so you know that they're only going to be able to get it to a certain extent, but I do like that at least a lot of the article is admitting, you know, these people like because they try to like just keep saying millennials, but at the very least, it's indicating that there's a bunch of chicks that have this like fairy tale, and no matter what you do, you're never going to be good enough for them because they have again this idealized version of a man, and it's the same thing with the people that tell you to work on yourself. It's like there are so many chicks I don't think are pretty, I don't think are smart, and they're still able to find a man. So what does that tell you? You know, you don't have to appeal to every single person with a banana to go on a date with a guy if you're a bra. Dude, imagine becoming a millionaire to go on a date with some broad that doesn't have a pot to piss in, but everybody's like, oh, she's so pretty. A fairy tale. That is how a lot of these people talk, where they say you'll find the one and your soulmate and the right one and all these. It's like, guys, if you want to say you believe somebody will get a date, that's fine. But sitting here and gassing somebody up about this like they're literally the article when it talks about the fairy tale is invoking stuff that people like believe, and they also try to like make you subscribe to. Like I've had people try to say there's this magic broad that is somehow going to be so different from every other bimbo as to like be the complete reverse of all these horrible things chicks have done in the past, and it still has not taken place because this person doesn't exist. You know, again, it's one thing to say somebody will go on a date. It's another to start talking about the right one and soulmate, and she's working on herself, and she'll find you, and love will come. I mean, get out of here. Nothing is ever good enough for millennials. You know, the sad thing is, if like I didn't have a whole comment section of men talking trash about every aspect of my like just being, I would actually say the article was trying to make, men also seem like they can never be content with something. But again, like when I think of comments saying you're ugly, you shouldn't wear this, you look like this, you talk like this, I know that like the part where she says the thing about millennials never having stuff that's good enough, that's literally how men act as well, right? But it doesn't make sense that normal chicks have 20 plus guys messaging them if everyone has different taste. Well, I never said everyone has different taste. I even said in my video, the women's many, many options. It's like if everybody had someone that was waiting for them, wouldn't it be 20 chicks talking to 20 men instead of 20 men talking to one broad? Dude, people really do treat chicks like an endangered species. Like I'm just waiting for I don't know, that just all the governments to come out and say, "Hey, we've reported a 30% decrease in the number of broads on the planet." Because the way people act, you really would think there's like just only a few chicks in the whole world. I'm not even, and I know that there's not. I'm just saying that the way they act, where like if I had 5, 10, 15 women trying to speak to me, right? And they all approached me in this like hypothetical, it would make it seem like I was this very special, rare thing that, all these people were seeking because I was in like a, short supply. It's like there are so many attractive chicks that I don't really think it makes sense for a bunch of men to talk to one. Like I gave the example of like Scarlett Johansson because that's a broad that has accomplished things most women will never accomplish. But it's like even chicks that aren't famous, they can get like multiple, double digit number men to talk to them at once. It's really psychotic. It's rare to find someone who would want to date and also have the same intentions, but people refuse to believe the talking stage is important. I don't know what they believe. Like, I guess you go to the gym and you get the six pack, and then random woman likes you all of a sudden. And I think I told you that, like, I had the one broad that said the different caliber of chick will start approaching you at some point, even though chicks don't ever approach men they find attractive hardly at all. I tell you, they gas you up with so much stuff, no matter how impractical it is. Like, we know for a fact women do not approach men they find attractive. And they still turn down ones that they don't think are ugly either. That's one of the things that really pisses me off with like the unrequited, like romantic stuff. It's like so many of these broads will say you're handsome or attractive, and then you still get turned down because I'm not ready for a relationship. I only see you as a friend. You're just sitting there wanting to tear your hair out because it's like, what more do they want? Like you would never see me talk to some woman, right, that I think is very good looking, is trying to like understand me or act nice, and you're like, well, I don't think I'm ready for this. Like, no, because again, again, it's like, what more do you want? I'm not saying the person is would be in like my estimation perfect, but that would really be like an ideal situation. Some do, but not a lot of. Brandon, nobody said none. We're just talking in general. Like, come on, don't do that stuff that those people do where they try to say, not all, not all, not all, not all. Vanity has become such an issue with how people select, makes it has destroyed the concept getting to know someone while dating. Well, I told you about the dingbat from the woman approaches me and then backflips video where it's like, oh, I'll go on a date with you, but I want to get to know you first, even though the whole point of the date is to get to know the person while you're with them, while you're doing something with them. So like, why do you, what's the point of like, you might as well just go get married to the person after talking to them on the phone. If you're going to just, you're going to take the purpose of the date and then like apply it to this, like nebulous period of time, because you don't know when that dingbat is going to decide, I finally have now gotten to know you enough to want to do this. So I said, man, all they do is just waste people's time. Oh my God. The purpose of going on a date is to get to know someone. That's why I want to get to know you before going on the date. They don't even care. They just say things that don't even make any sense. That's how a lot of the people online are too. They just type something and it like doesn't add up. Brandon's on a roll. He wrote the most comments on the stream. I was so shocked. I hope some of the other regular characters start to pop up because I end up having to wait a long time. Oh, somebody respond to a comment I wrote, but I don't look at comments that are written back to me on other people's videos. I find it confusing because you are getting to know them by talking on the phone with that individual for months on end. Well, that's why I said it's like designed. How to explain it? It's this is why I said men are set up to fail, because the point of going on a date is to get to know the person. But if you're trying to get to know them without doing a date, then what's the point of going on a date? Like they took the point of the date and repurposed it for like uneven. And you know what? Like that's why it really pisses me off, because if you didn't like the one date, you never have to do it again, right? But they actually want you to sit on the phone with them for hours for like God knows how many weeks or months, again, just to not get what you want. And then people get surprised and you say, all right, this isn't worth my time. Also, James, I'm the subscriber to your channel. I'm not going to thumb up any of your videos because it's going to get deleted all next week anyway. Like I'm tired of these reboots. You might as well just go work for Sony with all these reboots where every couple of months there's like all the videos get deleted, all the music is gone. Don't worry, I downloaded all the music videos, so I'm gonna pretend to be you next week. I'm gonna call myself a more just James. Like, look at me, I'm putting up all this new music, and you're like, that's not mine. He stole it. I'm striking him. Since all we want to do is play identity theft. I also believe it's desperate men that like dignity giving a bad rep and acting as women are the holy grail that made the current dating scene just ridiculous. But that's why I don't like the self-improvement stuff, because I've never seen any of these guys that make these videos or give this advice tell chicks to do that at all. Like, out of all those comments, you need to go to the gym, you need to get a degree, I've never seen them say a woman needs to do any of that to get with you, because you're just seen as being this person that, because you're a male, no one has to actually try and appeal to. You're just a piece of garbage in their view. That's why the holy, bow down to the holy chick who you have to do all this stuff to get on the level of. Like I said, if you really try to become famous, because they talk about status, which already is stupid because most people aren't famous and will never be famous. If you really try to become famous and become a millionaire and you might as well just start approaching celebrity chicks. You'll have the same result. But you get the idea that it's just this big imbalance, because, I would hate the idea of being a millionaire and then like, oh, this woman is out of your league, not because she actually owns something, but oh, she's pretty. I told you that's why the self-improvement stuff is ridiculous because these people are always going to believe chicks just in general are too good for you no matter what you do. Like if you had a six pack and you still approach and didn't get a different result, because a lot of people like to pretend that exercising automatically like means you're going to get somebody. These people wouldn't say, "What the hell's wrong with this broad? Look at this guy. He went out and worked on himself and took care of himself and blah 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 blah." They're not going to say it. They're going to go, "You probably approach in a weird way. You're ugly. You're probably 4'1". Like they will never stop making it your fault because that's the whole point of their self-improvement stuff, that there's something wrong with you. All the broads are perfect. If they say no, then it's your fault because you control what you have to take responsibility for what the broads do. Even though, like I said, if I went and rejected a bunch of different chicks, not a single person on this goddamn website will go, "Well, the women need to be accountable for Justin rejecting them because they probably weren't good enough for him because they haven't taken care." No one would say that. They would go, "You don't need him. Forget him and his stupid jacket. Go keep on." Because again, if it's the chicks, it's the man's fault. If the man rejects a woman, it's his fault too. Only the romance stuff is the only scenario in life where the man can be found guilty for doing what the woman would be found innocent by other men. Yeah, music fiend. They like to speculate on people's heights. And like I said, I always hate that stuff because they're not addressing what I'm saying. It's just these, weird physical appearance evaluations. The homoerotic subtext of having other men talk about the way another man looks. And I made that point because you could realistically, and I've seen them do this before, where a man will exercise and then they just call him ugly. So it's like, what's the point? I know I've said this before. Oh my God. Here we go again. They have to, it's just the Billboard crew. I'm telling you, yeah, James, you would really think that man invented romance. Like before him, nobody ever got screwed or talked about how dumb the stuff that chicks do are. Just, oh my God. These people have turned themselves in the billboards for that man. Guys in general should reconsider all the pointless hoops they jump just to get a woman's attention and do better with being just selective as women are. Yeah. I got hate for telling the truth about new about new He-Man. I don't know why. It's not even worth at that point because if you were working on becoming a millionaire, which requires lots of work, you wouldn't even have time to get in a relationship. I know this one guy, he used to date one of my relatives and he moved in with his mother. And I think they both pay the rent together. So he like saves more money by because people like to make fun of someone for living with their mom, but he like takes care of her and she also helps pay the rent. So like he actually is getting higher and higher. I was really just amazed, because that was a coordinated thing where the mother benefits and the son benefits. So I always remember that like he doesn't even care about having a family or check. He's like, no, I'm gonna keep climbing up the economic ladder. I said the director's right. What the show was about, which he did, and people were mad. Nah, you can't help but bring that man up. I tell you, these people are really trying to create a romance cinematic universe. Hey, remember that time I was on this person's stream and this person got mentioned? Let's go to his channel. Tell you what, Music Fiend, go to his channel, go in the chat, give him a super chat or some other comment, be like, oh, you should go watch, do for me what you do for him. Like, be my walking billboard. Because it's the only person people bring up over and over again. And like I said, it's weird to me because I've actually been doing this for a long time. I know what it's like to do streams about this topic without that suit wearing individual showing up in my comment section. I don't watch them anymore, to be honest. Well, I didn't stop you from bringing them up repeatedly. It gets boring seeing the same thing. Wasn't boring enough to keep mentioning the same thing though. James, when did that man become the main character of Romance? I'd really like to know. Because, like I said, if I did a stream 2 years ago, a year ago, 3 years ago, I didn't hear anything about this guy at all. It is so weird. They have let him just completely. I mean, hell, you might as well not even talk. I can retire. You can just go watch that person. The people who do promote other channels on here do consider you to be part of this. Yeah, apparently. It's crazy too because like when I was doing the video, like if I do a political stream or political video, nobody goes on there and is like, I agree with you. You should also go watch David Pack. Like they accept you as an individual. And the only time you get like you see other commentators getting mentioned is if you say something directly about them. Like if I do a video on Janky gets mentioned, or like that's pretty much it if you directly mention them. But in the political realm, I could make 1,000 videos on just news, and none of these other commentators are going to get mentioned unless they're part of the story. But with this romance stuff, it really is like it's this one guy that just sucked the life out of this topic. Like you don't even, you're just like subservient to him. It's so weird. You talk about a wide variety of topics, which is a plus. You talk about politics, and I talk about Dragon Ball and talk about anime. Good luck on your stream. Gotta go to work. All right, bye. Thanks for showing up. The RCU. Yeah, the romance cinematic universe where they bring up the same guy over and over. Like it's like him and then that other one. There's probably some other romance person. Like they're the two main stars, and then everybody else is subservient to them. Even if you've been around longer. Dude, there's so many channels that like end up getting bigger than this one. They just like quit. Like, I remember this one channel had 90,000 subscribers, and he would make like anime music videos. And then he got copyright struck by Toei, and they deleted everything. I was like, man, if I had 90,000 subs and I got removed I would be so. Man, I like that stream on Wednesday. That wouldn't even be 1/10 of the rage I would have. Even if I think his content was lazy. Oh, look, I took somebody else's music and show and put it in. Like he doesn't. I know people who make music videos that are like actually will edit and do like interesting stuff with clips. His stuff literally is just here's a fight sped up with a song. It's like wow. These channels have a media team behind them. That's the only reason why they're bigger. I already told you, this website with views is like a literal lottery. I have videos I don't even promote and they get views. Like that Jank and Glenn Greenwald stream, I didn't share that anywhere, and I had over 100 people watching. It was so weird. It's like, where the hell are they coming from? I wonder when people would realize asking for a date doesn't equate to a relationship. The more people understand this, I feel like getting a date wouldn't be so difficult. Yeah, I don't know. That's why, like, if I heard that a woman went on 100 dates, I wouldn't think much of it. She went to see a movie or eat with someone one day out of her entire 300 plus day year, and then that was it. She didn't like it. She went to somebody else. But you can't even get them to do that. But you can get one of them to talk to you for weeks or months. That's why that again goes back to like how like psychotic it is that they'll put so much more effort into these, like, I guess friendships, if you want to use the word, because I don't like calling myself friends with these chicks, but it's like they want you to sit there and put all this effort into getting to know them. And it's like, for what? You're just going to reject me again, like the rest of the bastards. And I'm supposed to not get pissed. Remember when the YouTube algorithm was actually competent, you could jump down a rabbit hole of underground music, comedy, etc. I know, right? Girls act like you want their flesh on the first day. Maybe I just want to get to know you to see about your personal hygiene habits first. Like I said, this chick stuff is absolutely obnoxious. Like the way that men act about chicks and the way that chicks act, they really do belong together. And there's a lot of contradictions. Like I still, for the life of me, can't understand why a broad who was in a relationship with a great guy ended up commenting on James's video about never having had a girlfriend before. That just seems very weird to me. And I don't understand why how these men who are supposedly so successful with chicks are commenting on my stuff. It's like if I was with a woman, I would not be watching videos on people who hadn't been with one. Like I know how to draw, so I don't look up art tutorials. Dude, men online act like porn stars. They're like, man, if you do this, you can get all kind of chicks. Get out of here. If you were so successful, you would be watching my stuff. That doesn't make any sense. All the love music is about cheating, side chicks, and mistresses, or women taking men's money. Yeah. Well, that's why I don't understand. Like, that's why that Gertz person is close to getting banned, because it's like I said repeatedly, I don't want to be with someone who only likes me for what I own. And then his response is to try a type of dating in which a woman is with a man for what he owns and gives him sexual favors after getting something from him financially. This, you see how it's just this big, like, or do you even turn your ears on? Like, you might as well be talking to a wall. That's wrong. I still watch tutorials on things I'm already good at. Just no. The point I'm making is if someone knows how to do something, they're not going to sit there and talk to and try to get involved with content that's about not understanding it. Like if I watched, even if I was, like some great artist and I watch other people's videos on how to draw something, I'm not going to go in the comment section and go, you didn't draw that correctly, because I'm not the art prophet. These people act like romance prophets. Oh, I read the book of this person and they said that women like, I don't know, whatever the hell. Get out of here. Go try it yourself and see if it works. I've done that. I told them, show me proof. I had a guy on here talking about the muscles that he has. Like, let's see it. Never made the video. No, you can watch something that you don't experience or agree with and not like most people don't comment on the videos they watch. That's a fact. Like we can actually go on the biggest viewed videos on this website and there's nowhere near as many comments as many views. People really believe the internet reflects real life. Like when was the last time you went outside and saw normal people? Smooth Brains will argue up and down that you're expecting a supermodel. Well, I've had people try to analyze me from a video before. Like I showed them the romance curse one, the guy talking about, I know from watching your videos you're not ready for a relationship right now. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Because like I've always known that there are people who act differently in front of a camera or in like some public capacity. That's why it's called a public persona. So to sit here and try to like psychoanalyze somebody from a video or a stream is just really stupid to me. That guy got blocked after being a sub for me for less than 2 weeks. That's like the quickest turnover. He was writing stupid comment. I was like, yeah, we're not doing this forever. And it's like the same thing where people will try to say, oh, you're trying to censor someone. It's like every comment you write is antagonistic. That's why I think you're like a light troll. Like you might not call me out of my name. You might not, I guess, speak in a profane manner, but every time you write something, it's opposed to my view, no matter what it is. So that's why he got yanked. Like it's like arguing to the point of absurdity. People really okay. I already read that already. Thought somebody wrote something else. I don't want King to get mad and say that he's been ignored. Oh, finally, one of my favorite characters popped up. He's here. Megumi's here with his pitchfork and knife. He's angry that he didn't get his his self-improvement work on yourself video. Yeah, I was talking to this person and they were saying that they would voice act if they had the time to do it. I didn't like tell them I want them to do anything because I'm so over voice actors. But it was funny. They're like, I'm going to college soon and I won't have much time to do. And I was thinking to myself like, well, I made a whole show when I was in school, so I don't really. I only dropped out because I didn't have $12,000 to pull out of my backside. I'm telling you, I'm always gonna hate just American schools for that reason. It's like because when I was a kid, I would always be told by different relatives, "Oh, you have to work hard and you have to try and da 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 da," and then you try and you work hard so much that you get into a university, and then you can't go because of the price tag, and you're just like, I guess hard work actually really doesn't matter. Like when I did my show, where it's like, oh, if you want to make this show, you have to draw everything out, you have to write scripts, you have to, work hard, right? And then you draw the pictures out, and then you can't make it because somebody won't read a piece of paper. It's like, wow, I guess working hard didn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things where you do what you're expected to do as someone that wants that thing, and then because of someone else's decision or something that's like out of the realms of what was supposed to be required by you, it doesn't go the way you wanted. Is that Dragon Ball Super movie trailer anyone? No, there's no trail. Well, yeah, I take it back. There is a trailer that came out yesterday. It's kind of lame, like it's just Goku just dancing around like an idiot. But they put out some concept art I thought was really interesting. Like they have some new character that looks kind of whatever, but they have pictures of like Krillin as a police officer, Piccolo wearing his usual getup, and then Pan as a kindergartner. And it was very significant because it seems to infer that this takes place years after the end of Super, the show, not the manga, because the manga is like just set a few months after the anime ended. And I was really surprised by them putting out those characters first because it's like I would if you told me they're gonna put out concept art from a Dragon Ball movie of Krillin and Piccolo before Vegeta and Gohan, that's what makes me think maybe they might have a big. But I don't. I'm doubting that because I know how Dragon Ball movies are. Like it's even more good the Goku and Vegeta show. Literally every movie since Battle of Gods has been that way, where it's just the two of them do some stuff and everybody else might have like a few lines. It's lame. So I like the art. I'm not going to probably like the story. It's working hard plus connections plus marketing. Look at the music industry. Working hard by itself doesn't mean much if you can't hold firm a large audience. Dude, you know what? They're working hard by itself is not my point. It was that people tell you to do something because it's expected that when you make an effort, you will get results from doing that. And then the result you get is to go to a university and you're unable to go only because you can't afford it. So you were proven right in terms of your hard work because if you didn't do the hard work, you wouldn't have been able to get into the school. Just like with the show, if I didn't do the hard work, I wouldn't have over 40 episodes of it. Like I didn't just click my heels and then here's a show. You have to draw all of that. I really hope the supporting cast gets some shine in the film because DBZ and Super felt them so much. I don't know about Z, but especially Super. Like Z gave Krillin and Piccolo a lot to do just throughout the whole series. But Super's where they dropped the ball. Even though I was going to do a video about how the Mora arc actually did give Piccolo some things I like. They give him multiple fights, and they really have tried to push him as kind of the, I guess, third most important Z fighter because he's the only one that's in the Broly movie besides the redundant, overexposed Saiyan duo. So I'm gonna have to disagree with you on Z. You want to look at a show that I'm not gonna say it. I want to bring that show up today. They don't need my free advertising. Oh yeah, still waiting patiently for the upload. That aside, I take it that they got that. Oh, that thief got what he deserved. Yeah, he privated the videos before the copyright could take it. Like the YouTube sees it as they got rid of it, but it's privated. So they they sided with me on that one. Thank God, because I know how insane this website can be. Currently marathoning your show. Do you see yourself ever doing a project like it again? Uh, if I did, it wouldn't like I like long-term storytelling. Like I like a lot of American comics because since they run basically forever, it means that most of the characters that are introduced get to have some like issue or issues where they're important. It's kind of like with The Simpsons where people talk trash about that show, but I liked it as this big supporting cast where sometimes either a story gets revisited or some character gets used that didn't get used before. So if I like I doing those, but I'll just do one if I ever do it again with like where I just voice everybody because that's really the cancer that makes stuff take longer than it should. So that's the answer to that. I'll either voice everybody or I'll have people I know in real life that won't, ghost me over the computer, do it. Because I do think a lot of voice actors are mentally ill. I'm not even saying that to be funny. Like I don't understand where you're afraid to send somebody a message telling them you don't want to do something or you can't do it. Give me a second. Music Fiend says, "I love The Simpsons." Yeah, I like it too. I've been like watching through the show this past couple of weeks. Um, what was I gonna say? Man, we don't, it sucks that Super's manga is so boring. I don't even do reviews of it anymore. Like I read the newest chapter and the one before that, and it's literally the same old stuff over. Like new villain shows up, right? Goku fights him first, loses. Vegeta fights him next. And it's like we already know what's gonna happen. He's gonna he's gonna lose, even with his new stupid eyebrowless rip off Super Saiyan 3 form. I'll tell you, I could never be like a big Dragon Ball channel because every review would be like, "Oh, this is kind of lame. Yeah, I don't really find this exciting. I guess people want to see that." It reminds me of that case about Felicity Huffman paying to have her daughter SAT scores to be good so she can get admitted into USC. Um, well, you know what? You can't, James. I know that was very personal to you because one of your favorite shows was Desperate Housewives. So that felt like that made you desperate. That made you lose all hope in humanity. That one of your heroes had done that. Too bad so many voice actors sign up for a project just to jump out when they're required to do their part. Yeah, and they always like do it in the nastiest, sleaziest way. Like that person that quit. Remember that 3 Bad Days stream I did? They literally told me they would re-record stuff for me in March, and then for 2 months just wouldn't say anything. As I was like, "Hey, any update? Any update? Any update? Any up?" I had to contact that person like 11 times to get them to even just say they were quitting. And they're gonna talk about I'll go on Discord and spread the word for a play. I was like, get out of here. I didn't respond back, but I'm just like, that's really sleazy. Like you're literally you're led to believe they're gonna do something, they don't do it, and then you're just supposed to go, well, I guess I have to keep looking for another voice actor. A show where you do all the voice acting, that'd be interesting to watch and see implement the versatility, finding a voice for every character. Yeah, I can't put up with these people anymore. My patience is really like if I continue with mine, the one that I currently have, it'll like keep having other people because it's just ingrained into it at this point. But if I make another one, I'll just voice everybody. because I'm sick and tired of like I'm not gonna if I literally make everything, it's a big slap in the face to have this one little piece that somebody else needs to do or that I feel like somebody else should do, and then you get slapped in the face by them not doing it. Yeah, I've had a lot of people say they won't bail on me. I literally had a guy offer to voice for me last year, and I didn't take him up on because I wasn't writing any new scripts at the time. And then he vanished for half a year. I didn't do anything to him. We didn't get into an argument. He just vanished like from the internet for half a year. I was like, man, I'm glad I didn't take you up on being a VA. You would have done that. I would be so angry. Like, well, I guess I have to go look for another voice actor. Let me see. I was offered to do a score for some art projects last series, and it was filled with voice actors and writers that were crazy lazy. We didn't even put out a first episode yet. Dude, voice actors are so damn lazy. Like, I guess if I didn't voice my like characters myself, I would probably empathize with them more. But like in doing it for years now, I don't feel bad at that. Like I just think they're even worse at this point for not doing it. Like all you're doing is reading a piece of paper, and sometimes you have to shout, sometimes you have to yell, but like I don't feel sorry for them. Let me ruin this person's show by not reading a piece of paper. What a great upstanding individual I am. So like, I don't do this stuff to anybody else. I've never signed up for a project that was made by somebody else and then like not done what was asked of me or quit abruptly or any of that other trash. Never done it. There aren't really any consequences for when people online treat someone else like trash. Yeah. Because again, since it's on the computer, they don't think it matters. Like the broad that asked me to date and then blocked me, and after lying to her mother about telling me to leave her alone, literally the night after saying she wanted to speak to me again the following day, like a person like that does what she does because I'm a computer individual, so you can treat me any way you want. Oh, just block this person, and then you can act like all your lies are like somehow you're the good person in all of this. You're the hero. Dude, I'm producing, rapping, mixing, mastering a project at the moment. It's taking forever, but I'm also doing features, production notes, and helping with sample packs. And these voice actors just have to talk. That's my like, dude. Like, I've been over the process of my show before, but first you write an episode, and sometimes if you're doing a season, you write several episodes, right? Then you start to draw some of these, and usually it's about 500 to 600 drawings per episode. It's always like 18, 19, 20 minutes, and you have to edit it. You get your editor out, and then you put the voices underneath the different images to make it move, or the music or whatever. And literally all these people have to do is read a goddamn piece of paper, and they can't even do that. But see, when I say they're useless and that like they're very lazy and they're unreliable and they're like a cancer killing my creativity, people act like you're just this mean individual. It's like I'm the mean person as I give them all these extensions and going past deadlines, and if you can't do it this week, do it next. Yeah, I told you, and when I messaged her, and after she told me I'll do this in March and then quit on May, I was like, that's how my patience was rewarded. Being led on to believe you would record something just for you to resign, like Nixon. We got voice actor gate. I definitely understand. That's why, as Justin said, it's a huge slap in the face to the one who's invested majority of the effort for the project. Man, I remember when I was like, I literally, the first time I ever wrote a script for my show was when I was in eighth grade in 2012. And just to finally be able to like, I wrote at least 8 different episode ones over like a 3-year period, and to finally be able to just make it, it was just so great. And then like I had no idea the thing that's going to make you not want to do this anymore isn't going to be, drawing all this stuff out. It's not going to be, like feeling as if the story has nowhere to go. It's literally just people not wanting to read a piece of paper. I got a track, 2 beats that are leftovers. I'm 75% on the full blown album and 25% on the second one. I'm gonna release a week after. Like for that Dragon Ball show, I haven't made a video about it because again, I'm really not wanting to commit to it. I like part of me it's just, middleman thing. Um, but again, I can't see a version of that show that doesn't have at least a few characters in it that I don't want to voice. So it's like if I go and get some other voice actor, they're just going to do like 2 episodes and, oh, I can't do this anymore because I'm so busy. Thanks for understanding. I would be pissed. I have been pissed before. No, it sucks when you write something you really like it and you're willing to animate it and do all this other stuff to get it just produced in some capacity, and then can't make it, not because you're lazy, but because people don't want to read a piece of paper. This is really goofy to me. People online act like they are really mentally ill. That's just the way to say it. Your disdain has no bearing on them, in other words. Yeah, they really don't care how it affects you. Yeah, no, people don't have empathy unless it happens to them. I'm guessing you find your voice actors from like a voice acting group page or several sites. Well, I used to use, and I am regrettably going to probably have to go back on there, this one site, and then sometimes I'll just look up like a voice actor audition on YouTube and just in the message in the like comment section go, hey, I'd like your voice. Can you do for this? So it just depends. Because I met a few of them on Piscord. I really wish you could customize the apps on like like if I want to make Discord's app like a yellow jar. That's what I see every time I go on that site. I even told that voice actor in her message about going on Discord to find her. I was like, "You want to volunteer to go on on one of the worst websites ever created to go and find a replacement that's probably going to be just as bad as you when it comes to being unreliable." Man, people, if they didn't make it, they don't care. That's the best way to put it. I had this other video I wanted to do. It's about this man that's 80 something years old. I wanted to sing him praises. I'm not going to say who it is. It's not a politician. Because I think he's a very, maybe not a like really important person, but certainly someone that I feel a lot of sympathy for. So best of luck finding better actors because it seems you got some crappy partners. I was saying in my message on that website, be like, I can't wait for the next person to sign up and then quit after doing a few of these, so I have to come back and make another one of these in a few weeks or months. What fun! I told you, I really used to wonder why people didn't try to make stuff before. Now I see. Like people literally ruin everything they touch. They can have no effect on the story. They can have no effect on the writing or the art or anything, but just like they will sit there and be the reason you can't put something out for like 2, 3, 4, 5 months. And then people act like, "Oh, you're so lazy." YouTube. It's like, no, they won't record anything. Like that one person that quit in May, they're literally the reason I couldn't do 49, 50, 51, and 52. That one person by themselves. Everybody else recorded their stuff, just this one individual, and they just wouldn't do it. Like I said, it really pisses me off. I'm tired of these people, but they act like I look at Banana Merchant being the 11th hour ranger. He wants to show up an hour into the stream. Hey, he's like Captain Marvel in Endgame, where, where he's like there at the start and there at the end, or he like it's just this character that has like nothing to do with the plot that just pops up. Somebody made a good point. They said out of all the characters in that final battle against Thanos, she's the only one that's in less than 3 movies. Like everybody else you've seen, it's like her, like out of the characters with their name, like they're a titular character of a movie. She's the least recurring one. I thought that was funny. And then I think I mentioned that me and this other guy were laughing about her sequel. Like instead of it being Captain Marvel 2, it's going to be The Marvels because they know nobody wants to see her again by herself. And again, like no one understood that the reason that was so funny is because I had individuals telling me she was set up to be the new MCU main character. I'm like, what main character has their sequel not have their name? Like, that's why we gave the example. Imagine if Iron Man 2 was called Tony and Rhodey are men in suits. Or if Captain America 2 was called Steve and Bucky are the super soldiers. Dude, imagine if they made a Hulk 2 with Red Hulk and they call it the Gamma Gang or something. Oh my god. What do you think about Oh, I didn't see it because my thing is I didn't like her character in Endgame for 10 minutes, so I'm not going to sit there and watch her for 2 hours. That's the only MCU movie I haven't seen. Now, you can pay me to watch that thing. Dude, she is the worst character in that whole franchise by like 1,000 miles, because even if some of the villains are kind of bland, most of the protagonists are either not unlikable or like they have some role in the story that is like built up and makes sense. Like she just comes out of nowhere and is like this Deus ex machina. We're like, oh my god, I don't even want to think about her. It was tolerable, but not the most exciting. I mean, again, if you say so, I'm just gonna stay away from that. You can have that movie. I don't know. I just don't like Carol Danvers as a character. Like after her run as Miss Marvel, she just kind of like they put her in this really unattractive costume. Like I do like the black leotard. Like that was like iconic to me. Uh, and then she just kind of is now being promoted as some big superhero when she really is not. Like how many years did she spend just in Rogue Subconscious? She's so bland and one dimensional. Yeah, and I just feel like the character is kind of like overstated in her significance. Which MCU Phase 4 film is everyone looking forward to? Maybe Doctor Strange too, and that's kind of. I mean, I'm not really excited to see Iron Boy 3, other than them having Alfred Molina return as Doc Ock for the first time in like 17 years. Uh, But outside of that, it's like whatever. I do think it's funny that people like the people involved say this is not a multiverse film, and everybody was like, "No, that's BS. Look, they got this person and that person and this person and that person and this person and that." So that's why I think it's funny. Like if that movie comes out and those actors aren't in it, they're gonna be like, "I can't believe Marvel did this." Like, they told you they're not in it. I just thought like it'll be really hilarious that like they created headcanon, like fan fiction of these actors coming back. And then when they're not in the movie, they're gonna blame Marvel for like, I guess, telling them the truth and them not believing them. Yeah, outside of that, I don't really I mean, I guess I'm excited for Fantastic Four just because I want to see an adaptation of that people actually say is good before I die. Because that's a really people misjudge the quality of that team based off of the films because that's all they ever see of them, which I really hate because the Galactus trilogy is like considered one of the best comics by Marvel ever. The Fantastic Four number 48 to 50. And their arch nemesis Doctor Doom is also considered one of the best villains ever created. So they have a lot of merit, and they were Marvel's best-selling book before Spider-Man came around. So I really hope to see them actually done well. Yeah, I feel like she had no role in the MCU, and her story was written. Yeah, I remember watching that. I did like Fantastic Four. Well, I'm more a fan of the comics than the other stuff because they have a lot of interesting stories. That's pretty much the only property that Stan Lee really cared about other than Spider-Man. Because I mentioned before with X-Men that book got canceled and for like 3 years was just reprinting old stories, and then Chris Claremont swooped in and just completely transformed that thing. I do like to see what they'll do with Blade, though. I mean, I guess I don't really care about Blade. He's just like a whatever character to me. Yeah, I should do a callback to what James said to me on my stream. I don't remember you ever saying you wanted to see a Blade movie. Because if you don't say it on a stream, then you apparently don't want it. Never knew about the X-Men getting canceled. Well, I actually read comics. X-Men and Spider-Man were my two favorite ones, and yeah, they went for 60 issues, and then got canceled because of low sales, and then for 3 years they just like if you go and read Uncanny X-Men, it's like 65 to 93. It literally is just old stories reprinted because nobody was writing that trash. And then Claremont like came around and created the stories that are most commonly associated with X-Men and a lot of the characters as well. And had a 15 plus year run on that book. He was the longest writer for them out of anybody. So Days of Futures Past, the Dark Phoenix saga. That's nothing. I really like the Dark Phoenix saga comic, and then like every time they try to adapt that into a film, it just fails miserably. Like that is so sad, and that's why I don't really. I just kind of hate that people don't read comics because when an adaptation isn't that good, it can like backfire and lead people to believe without reading the actual story that the story itself isn't good. And that's just not the case. What do I think of Magneto? Yeah, he's one of the two greatest Marvel villains ever created. Not in my opinion, but in the opinion of actual polls. Like IGN said he's the greatest Marvel villain. I think it was IGN. It was either him or like him and Doctor Doom just like take turns as the best ones out of all of them. Because they're complex characters. They're not completely evil, and they have these like Magneto has one of the more interesting arcs I've seen for a villain where like I didn't like Dan Slott's Superior Spider-Man story because it's like you make Doc Ock a character that was always a villain, maybe not as evil as others, but just like a thug into this hero because he's in the body of Peter. It's like it's just stupid. That's why I don't like Slott. But with Magneto, they actually have taken time to show that he genuinely wants what's best for mutants, even if he goes about it in a different way from the X-Men. Um, and sometimes we'll partner and team up with them, and he's just this like really honorable, interesting backstory character. So that's my opinion of him. Uh, yeah, it was IGN that said he's the. I got it wrong. They didn't say he was the greatest Marvel villain. They said he was the greatest comic book villain of all time. Like it's him, Magneto. It's Magneto, Doctor Doom, Joker, and Lex Luthor that are considered the best. Mr. Claremont saved the franchise because the X-Men are one of my favorites. I don't talk about much. I think the Sony films kind of ruined it for me just a bit. Love the Wolverine films though. Well, listen, I don't really like the films that much either, but you know, again, I like the comics, which is the source material that will be around a very long time after those film series get rebooted and canceled and reworked and thrown all over the place between studios. That's why I always find funny about the MCU. It's literally based around the rejects that nobody wanted. Like when Marvel sold the rights to Spider-Man and Fantastic Four and X-Men, those were because those properties were very popular. And Feige one day is just sitting at Marvel and he's like, we still have a lot of our characters that make up the core Avengers, that like group that is kind of like a second-rate Justice League. Let's go and make some movies. Yeah, Claremont like it's out of any creator who didn't make a property, he probably did the most to revive it out of like any comic book writer. Um, like when people think of X-Men, they don't really think about the five members in the yellow and black suits. They think of Wolverine and Storm, and like those came from him. As far as like the stuff that has been, and it's another really telling thing that in the film series where they try to adapt Days of Futures Past and the Dark Phoenix saga, however, inaccurate they were, those are stories that he wrote. So I think he's a great writer who deserves a lot of credit. I'd say he's probably, if I were to do like a ranking of important people from Marvel, he probably would be like maybe number 3 or number 4. Like for me, it's like it's Lee, then it's Kirby, then Ditko, and then Claremont, and then maybe after that like Gary Conway because he is the one that wrote the Death of Gwen Stacy and made Punisher. So he also has his accolades. My favorite X-Men comic story was the Ultimate Universe arc or Magneto. Oh, you mean Ultimatum? Yeah, Megumi, there are a lot of people who debate if Storm is actually the most iconic black superhero. I think there's a lot of merit to saying that she is. I mean, I guess Banana, but like I think him and Lee are like right neck and neck. I just say Lee because Lee had way more visibility because he was around during the era of like the movies exploding in popularity. Yeah, I was not a fan. The Ultimate Universe is like I liked Ultimate Spider-Man. I liked Ultimate X-Men. Uh, I didn't like how Ultimate Spider-Man ended, where it's like, hey, let's kill off this alternate version of this iconic superhero you've been following for 10 years, so that we can have a black kid be this character except a different ethnicity. It's really lame. I don't know. Bendis, I think he was he was on something when he made that story. You know, these writers are. They always want to do something that like leaves their mark on. Like you had Dan Slott on Twitter. I wrote 1/5 of Amazing Spider. I was like, okay, that doesn't make you a good writer. That just means Marvel didn't fire you quick enough. Man, he's lucky I wasn't up at charge of Marvel reading his story. Like, boy, you're gonna sit here and make Peter have some industry and then have him swap bodies with Doc. What the hell's wrong with you for over a year? Get out of here. I remember this one guy did a review of I think the story was called Big Time. I haven't read it in a long time. I used to have the hardcover. I don't have it anymore. And he actually speculated because of how poorly Slott writes romantic relationships that Slott had never been with anyone ever. I was like, damn. And that guy deleted his whole like all of his videos, like put them all on private. And I was like, oh man, I used to love that review because that's like the sickest, meanest thing I've ever heard somebody say about a comic book writer because they didn't like, you know, the way they wrote romance. Because there are a lot of people who I don't think write good romances that are like married and have been with people. Like I don't write a romance off of my own experiences because again, chicks in real life tend to be kind of terrible. But I write it based off of an idea of what I think one should be, where two people might disagree here, you know, here and there, but they still actually care about each other and like to spend time together and you know things like that. The Marvel's Ultimate Universe have become one of my favorites in the Marvel franchise. Yeah, I just think it kind of petered off toward the end because I think it was Jeff Loeb who wanted to get rid of that, so he made Ultimatum. It's like let's kill off everybody in 6 issues. They have Blob eating Wasp head off her body. It was so, man. I don't know what's wrong with these edgy writers and artists. No, it's funny when people who've never read comics are talking about different Marvel stuff. They're like, it was so sad when uh you know, when Nebula saw her sister get erased. I'm like, well, in the comics for the Infinity Gauntlet story, Nebula becomes the main villain. She takes the gauntlet away from Thanos and puts it on, and ascends to being the antagonist. Like it was. That's why I was always like, wow, they really turned this character who has always been a villain into a hero in their little universe, I guess, whatever. If only relationships were really that kind of reality, 'tis a sad fate. Yeah, and it's funny too, because like I said, if you watch and read some of this stuff, uh, I don't see how anybody would look at it and go, this is appealing, you know, like I don't know, they just the stuff people write really confuses me. Like they have this one issue of Avengers where is it Carol Danvers where she gets like impregnated by some guy that like it's like some kind of molestation thing and the Avengers just let like people have done videos about it before, but just stuff like that where it's like, what is wrong with these writers? Yeah, the MCU films changed some characters for the worst. I'm still mad about how they did Valkyrie. I used to think Valkyrie was so hot. She had the little like blonde pigtails and the black leotard, and then they got her like wearing just this like full body armor. I'm like, man, come on. Like even if you have to if you want to do the race swap thing, at the very least, make the costume look the same. Like damn, it's the same thing with Supergirl. She used to have this. My favorite look for her was like the white shirt with the blue skirt and the red boots because it looked kind of like Superman's outfit, but not really. And then in the movie, they have her wearing this blue bodysuit that looks like something the guy would put on. Like they really refuse. Like, oh man, that just sucks. Like let somebody show some skin for once. Damn. It's just like at DC, they try to give Wonder Woman pants and it never like sticks because people complain. Like they're like, no, I want to see those legs. My favorite Kirby story is when Magneto lifts an entire chunk of land out of the continent and makes it into an island called Genosha. If I can remember what issue that's from, I would cite it. Yeah, there are a lot of great writers at Marvel, at least that have been at Marvel. Um, it just sucks that people don't read American comics that often. They don't get to it. Like I think that 30 something issues by Lee and Ditko of Spider-Man was perfect. They introduced most of the like iconic villains. It was like it had different parts of drama. There were character like it just I think I would go back and read it anytime I can. Just like sit there and marathon through it for a few days. So many people are very oversensitive when it comes to women's clothing, even in fictional media. And it's really weird too. It's like, you have chicks that wear full, like ever since comics have been around, you've had female characters that are fully covered, like Invisible Woman or Batgirl or something. But it's like, why can't I have a couple of chicks that wear some stuff that shows off their skin? I don't really understand the problem with that. If anything is seen as revealing to them, they'll throw a hissy fit. Yeah, and that's why it's so frustrating to like American comics at this point because and just stuff relating to comics because there's a real push to like downplay the hotness of a chick. Like you saw Scarlett Johansson talk about, oh, in Iron Man 2, I was sexy. I was like, lady, you wear a full body costume that has like a little slit to show your chest, and that's about it. Like that's like I'm talking about the black suit that she usually wore. It's very covering, like what are you talking about? Oh my god, they had the camera on my butt for 2 seconds. So what? Stop making this attractive person be positioned in front of a camera in places that men would like. No, I'm talking about Megumi. Like if you've seen any of the because she's in 8 movies. If you've seen any of those, you know that in almost all of those, she's actually I take it back in almost every scene she is in all of those, she's usually wearing something that covers up her entire body. And she's talking about how sexualized she was in Iron Man. So I'm like, you wear a black suit that literally like what I have on is more revealing because you can see my hands fully. It's like it's so weird. That's why I said people really are pushing this thing of like, oh my God, a woman's wearing a costume. We have to make sure she's covered entirely. Eh. The ones complaining about character designs are ironically also the ones talking about having the liberty of wearing what they. Yeah, that's ironic. Kind of like women should be able to wear whatever they want, except if it's a fictional woman. Then she has to wear something that could, like, she might as well just go to Saudi Arabia. She has to wear something that covers up her whole body. That reminds me of that one episode, Everybody Hates Chris, where the girl that's the neighbor has like her grandma gets mad at her for showing her hands off, like not wearing mittens, and like she acts as if people seeing her hands is like her trying to flirt with boys. What? That's what this reminds me of. For like if you go and look at all of those costumes from Marvel movies, they really are almost like if it's a chick covering them entirely. And that's why it's even weirder when they start talking about I don't want to be sexualized. I used to love Miss Marvel's old costume, that black one with the leotard. That was so hot. And then they want to get rid of that for that full body piece of crap suit that she has as cap. Whatever. The writing got worse and the design got worse. They don't want women to have attractive figures. They want them to be one-dimensional sticks who wear jeans and a shirt. And again, if you want to have a woman that's fully clothed, we've always had those in comics, but I just hate the idea that they want all of them to wear stuff that covers them. And like even ones who are wearing stuff that covers them, they still act like they're, you know, not. That's what's crazy about it. Yeah, I used to really like that costume. I don't know why they got rid of it. They really dropped the ball on Miss Marvel. Like Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel could have easily been just like Marvel's longest running book on abroad, but they said no, we're gonna make you this other title and whatever, stupid. But their job will clearly show their body anyways, who will always be subjected to being objectified. I just can't get over like that movie. Like Avengers has one shot with her butt where she's like standing in front of the jar that Loki's in, and it's like, who cares? You think if I was starring in a movie that paid me millions of dollars, I would care if they wanted to put the camera behind my backside? Like how dare people find me attractive? Isn't that the nature of their job? Yes. These people are hired because they're considered hot. You know, like you think people saw Scarlett and they were like, well, we're gonna get this okay looking woman. Like, no, they thought she was beautiful, so they cast her for this role that entails being attractive. If they want to change how characters look so bad, they can gladly do fan art. Hell, the artists at Marvel act like they're drawing fan art. With some of these, and I never talk about like artists unless I'm praising them. Like I really like John Romita Senior, and his son, Junior as well. So like the Romitas, the big Romita and the little Romita. Because I'm not an art critic. I've never, I believe, even if I'm not the biggest fan of an art style, if a story is well written, I can look past. Like, I don't really like spectacular Spider-Man's art style. Like, it just kind of is like really goofy, but with it, like, I still think the story's good. So, I look past it. And I actually look at it more fondly because I associate the designs from that show with the story I really liked. It's just I'm not someone who's hard to please when it comes to like visual stuff. That's why when I was saying these costumes suck, because I really think they're bad. If they want to, no one's forcing them to consume the content. Do you think films with the Hulk finally came to an end? Yeah, because Universal won't let Marvel make anymore. At least we have Hulk comics. People project a lot of their personal crap into fictional characters. Have you ever noticed that superhero movies won't let any character not have a love interest? Like if it's a male character, they're not allowed to not have a love interest. Have you noticed that? Like, I get an example for Captain America, right? Peggy is like in the past and she becomes an old lady and whatever. So it's like, okay, well, this is just a movie about you're thinking, okay, the next one's going to be him doing stuff, and then Winter Soldier comes out, and then you have like the flirtation with Black Widow, and then you have Peggy's niece, into which I mean, she's from the comics, but you get the idea that like they cannot do a superhero movie unless it's maybe like an ensemble, like Avengers, right? Because there's too many characters to like really say this one is the lead. But every superhero movie that has a man as the lead character has to have a love interest. Because from what I've heard of Captain Marvel, she doesn't have a love interest, and Black Widow definitely didn't have one in her movie. So it's like I guess only chicks are allowed to not have to have some person they're pining for. Have you noticed that like they won't allow there to be a movie about a superhero that is a man where he doesn't have some woman that he's attracted to and trying to court throughout the film? I don't know if you noticed that. I noticed it and I got really annoyed. I said, wow. And people want to talk about chicks being made to be partners to men. It's like, look at what if they make a movie about a female superhero, she doesn't have to have a love interest. If you're a man, you have to have one. I've come to the conclusion that DC should invest more time in their films and cancel all the CW shows they have. The least they could do. Well, Megumi, like, it's something you probably won't notice when you watch them, but with the MCU especially, it's most noticeable with Captain America 1 and 2, and then Thor, Dark World and Ragnarok, where it's like, oh, Jane is not here anymore, but don't worry, there's a new chick with Valkyrie. and they admitted that that was going to be like the new love interest, and then it was like, oh, never mind. But she's there basically to fill the role of the woman that you can feasibly see the male protagonist getting with. Again, if it's organic, like with the the Raimi Spider-Man movies, I don't have a problem where it's like built up right from the beginning. That's different. But stuff like look at the Michael Keaton Batman series. It's like you've got what's her character's name? What's her character's name? It's so anyways, in the first one you've got the one chick, and the second one you've got Catwoman, and then in Forever you've got Nicole Kidman's character. Like it's literally, even if the actress doesn't come back, there's going to be some, for whatever random reason, blonde-haired woman that that Bruce Wayne's going to be pining after. Even though I've not seen that many of the movies. No, I'm not. Okay, well, look, I'm into superhero stuff. Okay, so I know that unless it's a team of characters where it's like multiple men, if it's like one male character, usually in movies or a show, they always have to have a love interest. And it sucks too, because it's not that way in the comics at all. Like there's multiple stories of just Wolverine by himself, no woman, no pining for Jean or any of that crap. Same thing with Peter, where there's like a solid 100 issues, or like it's like 80 or 70 issues where she just disappears, Mary Jane, until they get, she comes back and then they get married. Like that's why I said it sucks, because people always like talk about, oh my God, women are only concerned about if their love interest. Like, look at what they do to men. You can't do a story without somebody wondering who the man is going to get with. I mean, basically all of well, yeah, for Batman and Robin, but like all of Batman's female villains are like, other than Harley, a love interest for him. Like he has romantic stuff with all of them. Talia literally in the comics raped him to have Damian. But people don't like to mention that because they don't care, since it was a male character that got violated. The cliche of having a love interest in films has been ran to hell. Again, I don't have a problem with it if it's done like organically, like I gave the examples that I gave. Like with Iron Man, they literally set up from the first one that Pepper is his love interest, but after when they have that person leave and they do another movie, and then it's like a new, oh look, conveniently there's a new chick. They can't do one without. That's why I had such a problem with Far From Home, because you have Peter pine for Liz throughout all of Homecoming, and MJ's there, but he doesn't really show any attraction to her. And then all of a sudden at the start of the second one, oh, I like her. No development, no explanation given, no, just the last movie, I didn't really care. Second one, oh, now I like her. And they don't do that because they're going to tell this interesting story of how he became attracted to her, because it's never explained. They do that because they can't do a movie about a superhero that's a male without a love interest. So Megumi says that's so strange. Originality is hard to come by in terms of plotting out superhero films. I mean, if you want to say that, I guess. I just think when people are creative, they can come up with a lot of stuff you've never seen before. Like with Batman, that character was very unique when he came out. A superhero without superpowers that has to rely on gadgets and other types of weaponry and tactics and things to do and wits to beat villains. That had never been done before. With all these colorful antagonists. Like there's a lot of stuff in American comics that's very unique. And people don't give it enough credit because nobody really reads them anyway. They just watch movies and shows and act like that's all there is to it. At all, it's implied, and the audience has to fill in the gaps, needs to stop, to be honest. Even guys are being depicted as someone who needs to have a love interest in these movies. And people push the independent woman thing. That's why, like I said, there have been 2 MCU movies about a woman as like the main character, the titular character. and neither time have they shown them pining for a man because they're allowed to be their own person with a specific goal. But if you're a man, oh man, how am I gonna get this woman to like me? Or there's this woman over here. It always has to be something you do for a broad. I get time restrictions in filmmaking, but you know what? No, we're not even going to play that because you have a 2 hour movie. You've got basically five main characters. You can easily, if they wanted to, I keep forgetting that movie's name, Far From Home, they could have had Peter develop feelings for her during the film by spending time together. Like I'm not giving them an out on that because it's not hard to develop a romance in one movie. They just didn't want to work for it because they know that people will eat this up anyway because it's their mascot's film series. So I said these writers are lazy. I'm not giving them any out. Just like it was the same thing with Super. It's like, you really expected them to have 80 characters do something in an arc? Like, this arc is 50 episodes long. And if you didn't want to use 80 characters, don't use 80. Use 40. Use 30. Like, it's clowns, man. People always try to give people, just excuse after excuse for why they can't develop their characters or actually do something with the ones they make. And I think that's really lousy. That's fair. Never looked at it that way. Well, again, you can do a lot in 2 hours. Okay, setting themselves up for failure. Well, again, it's just a matter of creating a story and not caring enough about it because if I wanted a romance in a story I wrote, I would actually let you see what do these two characters like about each other, you know. And whether it's a movie, whether it's a TV show, you have time to do that. And if your story doesn't, if you feel like that's not important enough for the story to tell them, don't have it in there. No, I remember the Peter Mary Jane marriage. That was such a big deal when that happened. You never really saw, unless a superhero was created being married. It was like that marriage and the one between Mr. Fantastic and, um, Sue that are like the most iconic Marvel romances to me. But it's just sad that they were married for 20 years in the stories. And then a stupid writer came along and was like, let's undo that. And it just got, Thanos snapped out of existence. Hate One More Day so much. I'm always gonna despise Joe Quesada until my last breath because of that stupid story. Because we're still paying for the consequences of it. Yeah, it'd make much more sense when the two individuals have feelings for each other. Feels more like a fan fulfilling a power fantasy than someone playing a character with real human emotions. Well, Banana, we already went over our preference for the Raimi version, so we don't need to retread that here. What would be your top superhero films you would suggest to any new fan? Well, I wouldn't suggest any of these movies to new fans. I would suggest reading the goddamn comics. I used to watch X-Men the animated series when I was a kid, so then I went and read some X-Men comics. If that's what I would go to if I'm trying to make somebody like or otherwise convince them that this is a good team, because the movies don't give individual members other than Wolverine enough time to actually do anything. Last year actually was pretty terrible to be an X-Men fan because Kirby Morrow, the guy that played Goku in I think it was the original English dub of Dragon Ball Z, and then also Cyclops X Men Evolution. He died, and then the actor that played Cyclops in the '90s, I'm forgetting his name, he died as well. They died a few months from each other. I was like, damn, that's one of my favorite members of the team, top 3 members. best to pay more attention to the source material, but many don't like to read. Well, like I said, man, I just if you're talking about a superhero team that has as rich a history as X-Men, I can't like I don't think X-Men 3 is good. I think it is like a 1 out of 10 compared to the 11 out of 10 of the Dark Phoenix saga. So I say read the story. If you don't want to read that, then hey, I'm not going to recommend anything to you. Assuming there's way what are you talking about? Very unfortunate. There's whole websites where they have all of sir. If I wanted to, I could read every single Batman comic ever made for free online this year by itself. Like all of these books, like literally every single comic series that's ever been made that is like major and notable by Marvel or DC is available online for free. That's why I don't feel sympathetic toward people anymore when they talk about this costs too much. Like, no, you can go read it for free online. And Marvel won't get you because they don't care about their own books anyway. And you know, if they did, they would actually try to put it in volumes like how mangas in Japan do. No, it's not very unfortunate. Oh, okay. Yeah, that did suck because he was young. He was like 40 something. Damn, now I'm never gonna get my X-Men Evolution revival. Thanks God, I really appreciate it. Talented people always go first. Yeah, it really sucks that that happened. But yeah, I would totally recommend the comics before the movies because I just think the comics are better written, generally speaking. Like I think the Red Hood animated movie is better than the Red Hood comic. Because it cuts out some stuff I don't think is necessary. But outside of that, it's usually the comic that I think is better. But since people don't like to read, even books with pictures, you can go on Google right now. Yes, banana. That's how I read them. Like I don't have some long box with a million comics in it. I go online and read them. So today I'm going to read X-Men number 200. I really would like to do a review of Astonishing X-Men. That thing was amazing. Like I'll always have a soft spot for Joss Whedon because of that story. Because it's a really good book for like if you've never read. Turn that down. Turn it down. No, I heard that. I heard you singing over there.
Wasn't singing.
Trying to be the next Michael Jackson.
Whatever. Whatever. You doing what you doing.
But these lazy harpies refuse to read even that. Yeah, it really sucks. Because again, there are a lot of good stories that have come from both Marvel and DC, and most of the time when they're adapted, they usually aren't as good because they have to condense stuff. So you know, it's just really unfortunate. I always liked having physical representation in my media, such as video games, movies, and actual paperbacks and stuff. Yeah, like literally, if I could find a way to make the story in comic form, like if I knew that people would actually buy it and I could find someone to mass produce it, I would trade it over doing a show in a heartbeat. Because I like comics, but I know that people don't read, so you know you end up having to become an animator and get VAs, and you know that's how you start getting the voice actor cancer around your show, and just it just envelops and gets larger and larger. See, the thing with DC is that they don't really have a Stan Lee equivalent other than Kirby. Um, so what I mean by that is like most of the DC writers that are like notable are notable only for creating like one character or two characters, whereas Lee and Kirby are literally responsible for multiple ones that people are familiar with. So that's why I said that the two of them are the most important people to me out of the comic industry. But yeah, I really do think Chris Claremont is a unsung hero for the most part. He's a very terrific writer. And it just I that's one of he's another reason why I wish that people who made stuff that weren't the creator got acknowledgement, because he's one of the few times I've seen someone make something, make stories for something he didn't create and actually surpass, in my opinion anyway, the people who started it. A big problem I have with comics though is power scale. Well, that's in literally every single form of media ever made. You can sit there and complain about who should have been strongest or not. I don't, that's a problem that's going to be around in everything you watch that has to do with like fights. Hell, people do that in real life too. This person should have been able to beat that person. So I don't really think too much about it. So would you recommend someone who's getting into X-Men or Marvel to read the comics first before the movies? No, I probably recommend the animated series from the 90s. And then if you like that, then read the comics. Because again, we're assuming that these people don't like to read. If they like to read, I'd recommend the comics. That's what I'm saying. Power scaling is like, that's not even you might as well be complaining about every single form of media that has a fight. People will say, this person shouldn't have been able to do this. That person shouldn't have been able to do that. And again, I don't really care about power levels when someone's telling a story. I think is very interesting. I'm not, what's that guy's name? Seth the programmer. I'm not sitting there calculating the square root of this person's I don't care. It's nothing to me. No consistent power hierarchy. That's why when people ask me but that's stupid anyway, because Superman and Goku don't even exist in the same universe. Who would win, Frieza or Joker? They would never fight or meet. It doesn't matter. This isn't. People really act like we're gonna have a Family Guy, Simpsons crossover with like Dragon Ball and DC or more. It's so weird. Yeah, my first exposure to X-Men and Spider-Man were the 90s cartoons. And I read the comics. And I saw all the things that were like not touched on. Again, I just like the comics because they've given more time to characters than a lot of these other forms of media. That's why I recommend them. This one guy, I'm in the stream with this one guy said that Goku and Superman are analogous as being like these aliens from like other worlds that come and protect Earth, and then Vegeta and Batman are both like gritty, and it's like, but Vegeta was an anti-hero, whereas Batman has always been a good guy. Like the only reason anybody thinks he's an anti-hero is because he wears black and doesn't smile. So that comparison doesn't work as well, but like whatever. And then they said that Gohan and Wonder Woman are the same too, because out of like those like big three, they're the most neglected and like forgotten about, even though they're supposed to like still be considered as iconic as the other two. Like I just thought that was funny that those comparisons actually do kind of work a little bit. I was like, Wonder Woman was the only one who didn't have her own movie before, like the 21st century. She was the only one that didn't get a show during the DCAU. I think she's the one who's had like either the least amount of video games or no video games. Like, damn, that's crazy. Just like with Gohan, he's the only one that like misses multiple fights with main villains in Super. He was the only one of those three that wasn't in the Broly movie. Like, wow. Just like a lot of that stuff really does line up. Like you can, even if you don't completely agree with it, you can still get like the parallels a little bit. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Vegeta tried to destroy the planet and Goku is an idiot compared to Superman. Look, Superman is one of the greatest characters ever made. Anyone that says otherwise, I think, is insane. Just in terms of like cultural icon, just being an icon and like people knowing basic things about him. Just it's not even people who have never picked up a single comic book know who Superman is. That's when a character has truly transcended their medium. When like you don't even have to read the source material or like do things with the source material to know who it is. Batman is just a tad bit aggressive is all. They are always been any version turning heel and being the biggest threat to man. Yeah. But I did think that Gohan Wonder Woman comparison was funny. It's like, yeah, they do kind of it does sort of match a little bit. I just thought that was funny that like, you know, whatever, you don't have to agree. It was amusing to me. That was the point. Many people often say that Batman just has plot armor since he doesn't really have any superpowers. I mean, yeah, but they said it about every story. Like, if a character doesn't die immediately, they just say they have plot armor. No, you get the comparison that they're saying that out of like that big trio of characters, because I would say that Gohan is probably the most iconic Dragon Ball character that's not Goku or Vegeta. Um, and it's like a similar thing with Wonder Woman, where she's supposed to be part of like the DC Trinity, and it's like they've been treated worse than the other two members by far, and that's why I gave the examples that I did. Goku purposely lets his villains get stronger, and this has always made me wonder if Goku is the real villain. You know what sucks? That like I really believe if Super wasn't as stupid as it was, people wouldn't say that, because it's like for Cell, he had the heart virus, so he couldn't stop him from getting 17, and then he was like sitting in front of the time chamber. And then with Boo, you know, he was dead for that, so that I still wouldn't say that's his fault. It's really only Frieza out of all the villains that he allowed that to happen with, because he was horrified when Vegeta turned into a great ape. So, other than Frieza, I don't really think that's that like Frieza and Super. I don't think that's that true. Every character is a victim of plot armor because the writers can introduce any new material and change a character drastically whenever they want. Yeah, that's why I just don't really see it as that big of a critique. Oh, this character is so important to the plot that they can't just be killed off regularly by someone else. Yeah, there are just a lot of writers that again, and stories I think should get mentioned, like you know, Dennis O'Neil on Batman, where he killed off Jason Todd, and he was dead for almost 20 years. It's like you literally killed Batman's sidekick, and they meant to keep him dead forever, and then you know the writers brought him back, and we got Red Hood, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. They're gonna have an like a Batman villain that knows who he is, who's kind of like a younger evil version of him. That's kind of oh, he's gonna be an anti-hero. Yeah. How terrific. Like I said, if you want to see some anti-hero stuff done correct, look at Doctor Doom and Magneto stories. They really are like the closest thing to just perfect villains overall to me. They're really dynamic. They have character arcs. They have interesting relationships with multiple characters. You know, I very much think they're great, and they earn a lot of the accolades that they get, and they're a big reason why when you know people were buying film rights to Marvel franchises, it was X-Men and Fantastic Four that got bought, not stupid Avengers, bootleg Justice League. Jason Todd got the Goku treatment brought back because fans. I'm just saying they could have done some interesting things with him, but they, in my opinion, they really have not. Like, I think he would have been better if he just either stayed dead and been, kind of like the Gwen Stacy, the Batman, that person that he wanted to save but couldn't, um, or been brought back and again been the way I thought he was going to be. Because during that battle for the cow story, I thought he was a full blown villain. He's walking around here with guns blazing and this like silver plated mask with red eyes. Like, what the hell? Man, I told you 2009 was the wackest year for comics. Like, it was like Batman was dead, Captain America was dead, and they weren't technically dead, but they were like out of their respective roles. And I was like, oh my God, this is. And then you had Blackest Night. I was, this is wow. That really is like one of the last years where I think Marvel and DC both were doing things that were kind of like unique and fresh and like, where is this going to go? I love Nightwing. He's the greatest sidekick ever made, just by far. Dick Grayson is, again, the films don't like to use Robin anymore, but he's one of the few sidekicks that really became his own hero by leading the Teen Titans. So you won't see me complain about him. There's no Nightwing slander here. Tell you, DC making him become his own character was a really ballsy thing because a lot of people forget he was Robin for 40 years. And then during the 80s, they were like, hey, we need to age him up. We can't keep having him still. And that was like DC actually wanted them to regress his age because they didn't want the character to grow up. So that was, something that was really pricey at the time. Pretty much the only Robins I think are worth a damn are Dick and Tim. All the other ones are kind of just like they either die or they're barely in that role, or if they're Damian Wayne, they're like this overpowered, inconsistent fan insert character or whatever. DC, as known for making brave moves at this point. I really like the ideological schism between Nightwing and Batman. Yeah. That's why I didn't like Nightwing. I would have preferred if after Battle for the Cowl, they just had him be Nightwing along with a Robin. Like he's not going to just I'm of the belief that Batman should be Bruce Wayne. So I would have preferred if his first sidekick took like a kind of like, what's the way of saying it? He sort of took the same role, except he actually is, again, his own character with his own ideology and, identity. Yeah, they dropped the ball on that one. But anyways, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for showing up. Again, I read anything I think is good. I'll try to put out an edited video this week. It might be a romance one. It might be the other one I want to do because this guy's birthday is coming up in a few days. So I'll try to rush through it. So thanks and have a good day. And thanks Roman King. Thanks Banana. Thanks Megumi. Who else was here? James before he disappeared, and Brandon before he went to work. So see ya.